I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, and this is Super Leaders, the podcast, the playbook for peak performance in a world powered by AI, where we align human potential with a modern digital landscape for leaders at home and with your teams, giving you the tips, tools, and insights to create true sustainable success. The ultimate combination: healthy, wealthy, happy, and wise. Let's dive in. Welcome back. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, and this is Super Leaders, the podcast. So we talk about human potential and aligning that with all the modern things that are happening in our new landscape. I've got some radical guests talking about how you can really align your peak performance personally, professionally, but also get under the hood around what's happening to run businesses in this new era. AI isn't the future, it's here, and it's already reshaping leadership and also how we run our lives on a day-to-day basis. Today's guest is so important. I'm joined by Aaron Zamykal, founder of Actualisation AI. This is not a new business. It's been running for 10 years. One of the sharpest minds I've come across when it comes to making AI accessible, actionable, and genuinely transformative for business leaders. Aaron doesn't just talk AI. He builds with it, experiments with it, and lives at the frontier of where technology and human potential really coexist. I want to welcome Aaron to the show. Aaron, thank you so much.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Before we dive in, I always put my guests on the hot seat and I say you've got to give everyone just a little viewpoint and welcome them into your world. So that's a bio in your own words. Who is Aaron and what is Actualisation AI?
First and foremost, I'm a husband and a father. I'm very proud of that. I've always been in business and I've always loved to solve problems. When I first started Actualisation 10 years ago, it was a bit early, but it was all about problem solving and understanding. In business, we always have problems to solve. That's what businesses are. How do we do that in maybe a different way? That was my journey to dive deep into the math and the code and to understand how businesses are going to use this system and this technology in the future.
The most important factor with what you've built is you've put cybersecurity, data protection, and you've taken the gatekeeping away and you've put that ownership of IP straight into the hands of businesses. Just tell us a little bit about that.
That's critical. I've always said that AI isn't the special part. It's the know-how, the IP, the data, that sort of thread that runs through businesses that makes them special. That has to be protected. Right now, that is not the case for most businesses and most people in how they're using large language models and public tools. That really disturbs us. Our mission and our purpose as a company is we believe in the freedom to be more human. To do that, we need to preserve the things that make us special and make our businesses special. The AI Factory provides that safe and secure environment to be able to do that. Maybe the world is slowly starting to realize now that if I'm going to work with AI, maybe I need to take ownership of that. Right? Private AI, we call it. And that is really the future. Businesses will always be special in their own right, but the AI just leverages that to a whole new level.
I just want to come back to a point. You talk about AI factories. In my Lego brain, there's just like this city and there's all these like agents and systems all talking together, rather than that being built on models like N8N and Make.com and external systems and servers. What you're really talking about, and I know that probably seems like jargon for some people listening to this, but what we're talking about here is building enterprise or SME level operating systems at the back end that can independently operate in a safe environment, not leak your data, not leak your IP, protect your customer information, your employee information, but also create like this micro community for information, marketing, and HR, every single operating system there is to exceed in business excellence. When you build out Actualisation AI and you started working with government departments and where privacy is valued, why do you think that general businesses were so slow to catch up on how important that is?
Well, because we're walking around with a software lens. All of our businesses use software. We might use multiple, probably different types of software to run a business. We've used this view or this approach with AI. It's very, very different, and it should be. When you've got something that can really understand you, understand your business, bring all your data together to make sense and increase productivity and to solve problems, it's very different to using software. When we've had people rush to public AI tools like ChatGPT and Grok and Claude, they're fantastic and we use them, but you should use them safely. You should also have the ability to own your vectors or your data. We'll talk about vectors later, of course, but you should have the ability to do that because you are building essentially a twin of your IP, what you do, who you are, all those wonderful things. I wouldn't want to be doing that in a platform that I have no control, I can't export it, and that I can't evaluate.
Is a software is a system that you plug information to and you use. What you're creating is a secure ownership level of enterprise for your information and also delivery of products and services. The one thing that's been really interesting in strategically consulting a lot of brands on how to implement AI is the trigger for them to think about this has been the liability of data leaks and loss of IP and
Mhm.
the cause and effect of if it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. When you work with agencies before, maybe they would gatekeep all your lead gen, or you go to an SEO or a media agency and they would hold all the lead generation that would come in. You wouldn't own that data. It's definitely leveling the playing field that way. But it's also not just risk mitigation. It's actually legit longevity and legacy for your brand and your products and services, because those service IPs, those brand IPs, or when you're an organization that has to hold a lot of confidential information, that should not be the only reason. It's actually because you've earned the right to own that data, and data is the currency these days.
We are at a stage now in this evolution where we have to realize that the data is special, not the AI. Companies have fragmented that and split that up across several software platforms and in Word documents and SQL databases and PowerPoints and Excel spreadsheets. We've got this disconnect. The wonderful thing now is, though, that we have the ability to standardize all that data. Those barriers that were there around, I can't open up that Excel spreadsheet in my NetSuite ERP system. You know what I mean? So I've got to use it over here. But now everything is converging and standardizing that then you can deeply interact with your data. This is a very different experience. I also think that one of the struggles that we have as humans is to know how to use that effectively. Our company is sort of going through that right now. Is like, well, how do we help our clients to interact with this and change the way that they work? I can see that being a very big focus for us moving forward.
Yeah, that's why we've connected so well, because rather than just coming up with a solution, we're also talking about amplifying, not replacing. The strategy together is the real value of AI isn't automation, it's the augmentation, is very much my messaging. Leaders can then use AI to enhance creativity, improve decision making, and expand capacity.
Yeah, and that's right. That first step is, creating that safe and secure environment to be able to play. This is really important. Where people have struggled is, well, where do I start? What should I do? Should I set up a ChatGPT account, or should I do some machine learning on some data to solve a problem? Or, where should I go? The usage of it is really important to capture, because that is the corporate memory, that is the knowledge, and it's human driven. Being able to have that environment to capture the usage, and we advocate that, of course, but also then with that usage comes questions like, how are we going to use this new output that we've developed, or this new data that we've generated? It's a much easier problem to solve when you have control.
Can you just give the listeners and viewers a little analogy of what an AI factory is? And when you talk about the safe place to play, to use, because every time you're using, you're learning and you're refeeding that and becoming more efficient and continually evolving. Just explain what an AI factory with AI actualization is and how it is safe and secure.
There's 5 key parts to an AI factory. The first one is the data. Within an AI factory is a data lake or a data warehouse. That is essentially a clone or a copy of all the data that you've spread across Google Drive and SharePoint and all the different software that you use. So the first part is feed the factory copies of your data that is currently being held by a third party. But you have ownership of that data, and you can access that data.
And you're calling a third party Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or Google Drive.
Xero,
You call any of those
Simpro,
things. Yeah.
anyone.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So first step is build the connectors, which we have, and we build the connectors for people, and we transfer the data into their data lake or data warehouse. That's the first part of the factory. Then there's the other key parts are around people. So we talk about digital twins, and this is not the sort of scary cloning, tracking kind of twin. What we're talking about here is, as you interact through, say, multiple large language models safely within your factory on your data, that starts to form a profile of you and how you're working. And so that your problems, you can solve them faster because it's intelligent, it's growing, it's got memory, it's starting to understand you and the things that you like and the problems that you solve. The other part is around process. We talked about AI agents, and obviously it's a buzz and people are talking about AI agents all the time now. So inside the factory is an area to build the agents and to house those and to let them learn and grow. They're also accessing the database, the knowledge base, the data lake to be able to make better decisions. So again, we advocate for bringing those agents into the factory, not using third party, because I want to own the agent. I want it to learn and grow, and it needs to be intertwined into my factory to do that. Every client that we onboard every week has an AI agent solution that they're building.
Right. And I think one of the things that we've even been building, we haven't worked with you inside the factories yet. We've been actually building out an AI coach sort of within my teams that I'm working with to do change management. So certifications on AI literacy and then finding AI champions. Now, with you, when we're building out factories for our clients and different IP and all sorts of different things, obviously those will be inside that unified and private and secure database. I know there's a couple of questions that viewers and listeners and those that are picking up this podcast will be asking. I don't want to talk about the obvious, will it replace jobs? Because yes, it will replace traditional roles, but there's an opportunity to identify growth, evolution, and who wants to be curious and learn different things. I do believe it will give, if used correctly, more space for people to use their superpowers in a work environment, pick up a lot of those automated kind of accuracy bottlenecks and allow people to have stronger relationships with clients and add more human potential and increase team engagement, all sorts of things. Will it make us redundant? We've got massive amounts of news at the moment, even within technology companies that are laying off so many staff to bring in agents. And we have to be the forefront of sustainable businesses and continuity, which is where we're trying to educate and retain staff in different ways. But listening to you speak about agentics and building out this factory, I know many people are dabbling in lots of different platforms around their organization. They're definitely building out their own IP within their systems. Let's just talk a little bit about cost. It's a great opportunity to talk about sort of the return on investment for when you're using platforms that are external versus the upfront investment. Certainly what we're doing with Actualisation AI.
That's important to talk about. I just might finish the last two of the factory as well. We talked about data, we talked about process, we talked about people. The fourth one is around platform. The factory can interact with the software platforms that you're using. So that interaction with the software to the factory is critical. And then the last one is around product or service or project. But understanding products and services that we're selling within a business and offering to clients. There's so much opportunity around product development and iterating and understanding deeply. These are the 5 key areas of the factory.
In simple terms, everything that we're using now in Google Forms and things like Typeform and ways that we send out like MailChimp and customer surveys and all of the things that we know and love and use on CRMS systems, websites, lead gen, I mean, everything you can imagine, is that there's nothing that's not possible within the system. The only big thing is that you're going to be building it in a safe environment and also create what I like to call training zones where you can have an onboarding area for staff to really play with things and learn about stuff and role model and evolve.
That's very relevant. The way that we present it to clients is that it's your next team member, that what you should be spending on your AI strategy should be about a mid-tier salary in your business, right?
It's relevant to what you would hire a new staff member for an annual salary, whatever that is within your industry, because obviously it's going to be relevant to the size of the ecosystem that you've currently got. Back to that question of when people come in, by the time they find you, not what does it cost, but what is their biggest challenge that when they come to you? Is it the privacy concern or is it the augmentation?
Well, the way that we present it, we are cyber first and security first. That's really important. That gives people comfort. Apart from the security, it's more, where should we start? Actually, reclaiming your data can be a decent process. It can be 15, 20 weeks of work and connections and getting all the data in. The problems to solve can also start to change, right? When we're seeing a movement towards, we're not really sure what problem we want, specific problems we want to solve, but if we could just interact in natural language with all of our data, that would be a wonderful start. Maybe the problems we can solve might change because we might have come with a list of problems. If I can interact with my data and I can create from it and I can solve problems, then the problems that we may think we have now before we have the base factory probably will change.
I mean, I'm enjoying some of the projects that we're going to collaborate on because that's the bit that I love, which is that harvesting and bringing these large amounts of foundational data and cleaning it up, getting it accurate and worthy of putting into the lake. So before you just throw everything into the lake, you've also got to go through a bit of a tight spot where you review, do we keep, delete or grow this information?
Yes.
I want to come back to a critical question. Is that AI, augmentation, factories, and all this is nothing if you don't know what you want your business to be doing, what direction it needs to be going in, who you really are as a company, as an organization. I believe that we're skipping the most valuable step, is at least what I'm seeing when people deploy AI, is they go, where do we want to have our business in 3 to 5 years' time, or even a year's time, because things are going to move so fast.
That's important. I always think, well, okay, what can go wrong? Someone goes on a journey of building a factory. Why do they leave or why do they stop? It's really good to talk about that. While we have lots of success, we have had some clients not complete the journey. Why does that happen? It is a journey. First of all, it's not like software where you pay your subscription or you pay your upfront and you're in. This is raw data interacting in a human way. These things have to be built and transferred. And you also have to learn how to use it. We're investing heavily in training and support and prompt engineering and all these sort of things as well.
Yeah.
We need coaches, actually. I think about what's the future roles look like. And it's coaching, it's guiding, it's supporting people on how to use it.
Yeah. And not gatekeeping, because the effectiveness of any system you put in place is people's ability to use it. That the biggest thing I always say, I've written so many books, they're all written like toolkits, but it's no use you putting a book on your bedside table and a lamp on it. Or when people write to me and say, I've read your book in one night, I'm like, well, you're probably not going to get the benefit of it. The biggest blind spots that executives face at the moment when they're implementing AI is they're not asking these critical, how do we make it work once it's set up? The setup is the easy bit. It's then amplifying it and getting everyone to use it and not changing the system so that you're building something, you're not building towers on quicksand. No. The blind spots that are happening because people are rushing to adopt things is they're not having the due diligence to go, how do we change manage this? How do we bring everyone on board at the right time? If you don't have that, it's very hard to bring everyone along with you. You need the playbook that everyone can know where their position on the field sits.
Yeah. One of the things that we've worked out is to solve that engagement and adoption issue, where we're moving to automated prompting, because ultimately businesses are a series of questions. Yep. What questions do I need to ask to grow, to sell, to support, etc. An organization might have 30 questions, 50 questions, 10 questions that they should be asking every day to help run their company. And so we believe that eventually companies will end up with a blueprint of all these questions. Some people will never become great prompters, will never interact with their digital twin. That's just, but why should they miss out? Maybe they have 20 questions they want to ask every week or every day that will help them in their job, and they can set them, forget, and it runs automatically.
That's about identifying the knowledge gaps, right? As we spoke about before, you're going to have adopters inside organizations that are very used to asking Siri, prompting, Googling. Then you're going to have people that it was like great salespeople that have been traditional roles that aren't used to going outside the inner sanctum and having to find something in a digital format. Giving that same level playing field and chance for success means you remove the assumption and you remove the lack of understanding, so everyone has an ability to succeed with those tools.
You've got my memory on my mind going too. The other part is that the factory has a phone number on your way to work.
That.
You call your factory and you talk to your data and it replies and it interacts. Future is still the same. You don't have to really change as much if you don't want to.
But I can call my factory with what's going on. Like we've got this big brief
call it.
Say Aaron and Damien are coming up next week. We've got this project we're working on. We're building out this dashboard. I need to get these things. Could you make sure that you've captured this for the briefing and email them that? Is that an actual workflow that could happen?
Yeah, we call that agent on call.
Yeah.
So you create
Everyone
the
listening
agent.
to this will immediately want one. I'm just telling you. I know they're
Well, you
already
think about,
happening, but I don't think they're happening
yeah,
in a secure way.
but also on the future, we're working on a product which will be released soon, is really spinning up the agent based on your natural language. I need this, and I want you to do that and do that and do that. And it just gets built and it runs. I think part of what humans will have to get used to is managing their team of agents. That will
Yeah.
be something that will become a thing. It's already
Did you
starting.
just segue to one of my new books, Super Teams, that's coming out? I think you did. Without even a prompting,
Wow,
you segued to that.
perfect.
I just want to talk about a couple of controversial topics at the moment that I know aren't controversial if you have the information. One of the things is I spoke about the only handbrake for leaders going forward will be their lack of curiosity. They don't need to know everything, but it's handy to know what questions to ask. Let's just say a couple of critical questions as a CEO or a leader inside an organization that are having to make very large investments and been presented all the shiny objects. What's two critical questions that anyone can ask without a deep knowledge, at least just to give a little bit of context and decision-making framework? Because that to me is lacking at the moment, where it seems that anyone that can overtalk you can also oversell you if you don't know what you're buying.
Yeah, it all comes back to the problem to solve. And maybe I still have that problem because I've tried to solve it in a human way. Now I have an artificial option as well. Together works well. One without the other doesn't tend to work so good anymore. This technology is all about solving problems, and that's quite wonderful to work in because we love problems and we don't sell a product.
There's a comment I wanted to share with you. It's the intersection for me of technology, strategy, and human potential. The interesting thing, and this is my quote, you might laugh at me. AI just isn't another tool, it's a mirror. It really is exposing the limits of our thinking and the possibilities of our future. For me, as a big thinker and someone who can take vast amounts of strategy and give people a roadmap, it's very exciting because I'm solution driven, but also I'm limitless in thinking because it's quantum physics. It's a mirror of how people are actually thinking themselves, because really anything is possible if you know the next right step. It's never finite. That level of curiosity is what you talk about as well. It's not a conversation about machines replacing humans. It's about how leaders who master AI will define the next decade of their business.
Then you think, well, if I'm going to master this, what do I need to build? It's very hard to master something that you have no control over.
This is the thing, we're bridging the gap between explaining what a jargon is and a practical tool. I also think working with companies like yourself at Actualisation, you're not trying to gatekeep this knowledge. You're trying to coach and share and expose and educate so that everyone can rise with this opportunity. The final bow on top of what you're delivering is this excellence in cybersecurity and data ownership. Whatever you're creating, you get to keep. The other great thing is that Aaron's building a system that allows you to coach within the system. The system almost coaches itself through you. It's automatically creating a clone of you to think about the best way. So we'll say, hey, Nikki, you've got this coaching call coming up with Brett this morning. Here's some great topics to think about, and pulling that information up for you like the most divine PA in the world, but also challenging you strategically if you want it to. Going forward for you at the moment, Aaron, if we were to do a masterclass together in Brisbane in your new office, or maybe against the Ferrari wall, we spoke a bit about enjoying working with like-minded leaders where expertise collaborate really well together. There's no competition when you're collectively got a shared purpose. Could you explain what that's been like for you going forward and how that valuable that is as well?
Yeah, our purpose as an organization is we believe in the freedom to be more human. That might be a bit strange being an AI company. To us, that's just really important. There's an opportunity here like never before to be more human again. We've lost our way. For some reason, we thought it would be good to be stuck in front of a computer to reduce our relationships and our connection with humans. We need to change how we work and how we do things. Previously, we haven't had that option, and now we do. That's exciting, and connecting with great people like you and like-minded people is really important. And we want our clients to be like-minded as well, that are open and to the possibilities and that can build creativity into the way that they interact with their AI. And some people struggle with that. They really do. We have to adapt and change as an organization as well to help people more.
It's about meeting people where they're at sometimes. Often when you're pioneering and creating something new, you might think it's really simple and easy because you can see the outcome, but it's
Yeah.
being patient and humble and meeting people with it and bringing them on that journey with you. On that retreat, when you're speaking and coming to talk to, CEOs and business owners, what will be the most important topic to bring to that session?
I think about this every day. What is my unique ability? What is my unique ability as a person, as a human? Where have I lost my way by not being able to do more of that?
Mm.
Our lives get full of all this stuff. Right now, we have an opportunity to be able to really dive deep into our unique abilities. What if all of us were doing our unique ability 99% of the day? What a wonderful life, and for the community and society and for our families and for ourselves that we would be able to create. This is what I really want to talk about, because there's tools and there's systems that are very smart and intelligent that can relieve you and can change you in a much more human way than ever before.
On that note, this whole mission of mine and with super leaders and obviously the book and the program and everything that's come out is the absolute alchemy for me. I've always said this, if you look back through any of my books before, radical self overwhelm is an epidemic. It's getting worse. People are profiting off it. Depression, suicide. I'm sorry if any of this triggers anyone listening, but these are very, very serious areas of life which, with attention and self-leadership and a little bit of constitutional awareness, we can actually prevent what's happening. We're going to have to take radical ownership and discover what your superpowers are when you do find happiness. I'm really excited for that conversation to flow kind of unfiltered, if you like, in that retreat, but also potentially, obviously, with clients and things. Aaron, even though you're very humble, I know that Actualisation AI is doing some fantastic, really big projects. I love the fact that we're both committed to shedding light on each step of the runway for anyone coming into AI. I would like to have you back on the show, and we'll take some questions for people and maybe talk more specifically about building our AI factories, the importance of cybersecurity, go checking where your data is actually owned, who it's owned by, what your rights are. The other thing, if AI is improving productivity, what are people going to be doing with the time that they're getting back from that? If your staff are freeing up their time and we're selling this as a proposition to augment more and automate, what value add and benefit are we getting back from them being in the business to bring more things up front? So those are strategic questions as well. Lastly, you've called Actualisation AI work, but it's not really for you. It's a purpose. Artificial intelligence isn't replacing us. It's now part of our system. For you as an individual, are you integrating all these new external third-party tools, or do you see yourself building out your own LLMs in the future?
For us right now, we have our own AI factory and we use it every day, and it's growing and evolving like every factory. When it comes to large language models, we use safely all of them all the time, all at once. Sometimes. So the future is not one provider. The future is multi-LLM.
I'm really excited to share when we're building out the vectors and everything within our business, share a little bit of that, look under the hood as a project. I just want to recap now. I know we've taken up a lot of your time and we've had a really long episode, lots of little bite-sized chunks to pop out there, but AI isn't the future, guys. It's already here. It's no longer if it will reshape leadership, but how fast you will be adapting to it. We've explored today why the true value of AI lies in augmentation, not automation. The blind spots executives overlook when they're rushing to adopt AI. Why literacy with AI is now as fundamental as financial literacy and probably helping you with the latter. And the skill sets that we've got to master in the next 3 years to stay relevant, such as building in how to prompt, coaching, talking to your agents, reinventing the wheel, all easier when you're working with partnerships like Aaron and his team from Actualisation AI. We're super, super excited to be working together with you. Aaron from Actualisation, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'll put all the details on how you can connect with Aaron or ask us your questions for a future episode below in the show notes. Direct, practical, and here if you urgently need advice. We want to cut through the clutter and help you understand that it's about being in the driver's seat as we evolve in a new operating system for our businesses. It also means a mindset as well. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. This is Super Leaders Podcast. You're diving in here. We hope to see you again. If you love this, please subscribe, share. We'd love your review and comments, and we're always here to answer your questions. Thank you and have a radical day.
You've been listening to Super Leaders, the podcast, the show where CEOs, founders, and elite thinkers decode what really works in leadership, life, and AI. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, and we're here to break through the hype and bring you raw, real conversations from beyond the boardroom. Keep your edge, train your mindset, and lead with purpose. Download the workbook and join our movement inside the Accelerate app on nikkifogdenmoore.com. Until next time, stay healthy, happy, wealthy, and wise.